All right, hello. Today we are going to be making some biscuits and gravy. And so we're going to start off with the biscuits. So today's learning focus is on sauces. So in our gravy, we'll be making a bechamel. And so when we get to that, we'll be talking about what a bechamel is and what makes it unique as one of the 5 mother sauces. So right here I have the mise en place for the biscuits. So if you have a scale, weighing out your ingredients for baking is better than using cup measurements, but if you don't, that's totally fine. I have put both the weight measurements and the cup. So this is 12 ounces of flour or 2 3/4 cups of flour. If you are measuring it using cups, I do want you to use the scoop and level method. So for example, with 1 cup, you would fill it up using a spoon and then level it off with some sort of a straight edge. I have a bench scraper here. And then that's a more accurate measurement than just scooping it in and leveling it off. Okay, so I do want you to use that method to get it close to 12 ounces as possible. Then we have baking powder, 3 teaspoons. We have 2 ounces of cold shortening, so make sure you put your shortening in the refrigerator. 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder or soda, 1 ounce of cold unsalted butter, a cup of buttermilk, and that is it. Okay, so to get started, we want to put all the dry ingredients together. So I've got my baking powder, my baking soda, the salt, and I'm going to take a whisk and whisk that together. Also, you want to preheat your oven. I already have done that to 400, so it is a hot oven. Make sure you have a rack in the center of your oven so that it will bake evenly. Okay, so whisk all those dry ingredients together really well. And then we're going to add in the shortening and the butter. Now there's a few different ways you can incorporate this. So we're doing what's called cutting in. If you have a pastry blender, you can cut it in that way, and it's just an up and down motion. And so the goal is to make the butter and shortening into looking like there's small peas in here. So you could also use your fingers. I'll just show you here, just remove that, and then just break it apart that way. All right. So whichever method you want to do will work. And so the butter chunks is going to make the biscuits really flaky, light and flaky, as the butter melts into the flour when it's in the oven. Once you have the butter and shortening incorporated into small peas, then you want to make a well and then add in the buttermilk. This was 1 cup of buttermilk, and then we're going to stir this together. And this is going to be a little bit slightly sticky, so we'll end up flouring. You want to have an additional amount of flour for your countertop, and make sure that you've really cleaned your counter off, because you will be putting your biscuits onto there. And I'll just get rid of this, and then we'll turn this on to the counter to form this into a ball. You want to take all those dry bits and just quickly knead them in to the dough. We're not going to knead very long, just about 30 seconds, just to get those dry bits incorporated. All right, here we go. Let's get all this excess that's on my hands here. Okay, and then we're gonna pat this down. I'm going to use a biscuit cutter smaller, you could just use a glass that you have that is somewhat the same diameter. All right, and then I'm going to put the flour here for my biscuit cutter. And then I have a lined baking sheet with parchment, or if you don't have parchment, you can just grease it. We're gonna put them shoulder to shoulder. If you want to make the biscuits a little smaller, you can. And then we'll take that excess and reform it. Pat that down. You want to try to make sure you got the same width as you did with the first ones. And let's see here, probably get one more. There we go. And then the final step, and if you want to, use this excess, you can. You can make it smaller, just make it the same thickness. That's the main part. So we're gonna add that in there. And now we're going to make some indentations. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of flour and we're just gonna press in the middle. This will help the biscuits rise flat top as opposed to like a dome top, like a muffin. And then these are gonna go into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes, so until they're golden brown. All right, so while your biscuits are baking, you can begin on the bechamel for the gravy that we'll be making for our biscuits. So we want to start off by browning your sausage. So this is 1 pound of sausage, breakfast sausage or whatever. I did choose a hot sausage, but you could choose any sausage you wanted. And we want to brown this, and then we're going to keep at least 2 tablespoons of the fat drippings to begin making our roux. So a roux is equal parts flour and fat, and that's the thickening agent for the sauce. So what makes it a bechamel is that it uses a milk or cream base to make the sauce, and it's thickened with a roux. And so I have here 2 ounce or an ounce and a quarter of flour, or that also works out to 1/4 of a cup of flour. And then we will reserve at least 2 tablespoons of the fat drippings that we get from here. All right, so after I browned the sausage, I did not have 2 tablespoons of reserve fat. I guess that's good. So I added another tablespoon of butter to it, otherwise the ratio would be off. All right, so now I'm gonna be on a medium heat and I'm going to add in the flour. And we wanna cook this for about 3 minutes. Over medium heat. And this will just give it a toastier, a nicer flavor by cooking it a little bit longer. So we'll let that cook down for 3 minutes. All right, now we're gonna gradually add in the milk. And you wanna do this gradually, otherwise you'll end up with flour lumps in your sauce. And you wanna be whisking it at the entire time. So, and I have this on a medium low heat. And then when this comes up to a boil again, it will thicken up nicely. So once you get a little bit more incorporated, you can start to add the milk in a little faster. And then we'll bring that back up to a boil. All right, so this is boiling. Now I'm going to reduce the heat and then add in the sausage. set in. Now is your time to season. So then we're gonna take a taste. Now remember, I use the hot sausage, so I have a feeling I'm not gonna need any pepper added to this. So I will give it a taste and add salt and pepper as needed. So now it's time to assemble. So the biscuits came out nice golden brown. And I'm going to cut it in half. And then place the gravy over top. And there we go. There's your biscuits and gravy. Enjoy.